Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Hugh Little, and I am the sales wizard at Redcap Sales Coaching. And at Redcap, you can learn to make selling easy, fun, and profitable. I want to thank you so much for joining us on the webinar tonight. I am well aware of the fact that there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of things that you could be doing with your time this evening, and you've chosen to come and spend it with me, and it's an honor to have you here tonight. I'm going to try to pack just as much valuable material as I can into the next hour and a half. Now, one of the things that I want you to know is that I would love to spend the next year talking with you about selling. And unfortunately, we only have about 90 minutes tonight. And so we are just going to touch the snowflake on the tip of the iceberg tonight when it comes to selling. What I'd like to do first is talk with you a little bit about mindset when it comes to selling. And then I'm going to show you a little video that deals with the 8 steps in a good sales conversation. And then we're going to just talk about a couple of those steps in more specifics. We're going to talk about high-yielding questions, and we're going to talk about the value statements that you need to share with your prospective clients. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a brand new program that's coming out, and the video that you see is going to be just a very, very small portion of that. And I'm going to tell you how you can take advantage of that online sales training program that's going to be available shortly, and how you can do it at a huge discount. So then at the end of the workshop, I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you about the 3 things that all coaches need to know if they want to be successful in selling their services successfully on a consistent basis. And so that's kind of the outline of what we're going to do this evening. And I also want you to know that I believe that the coaching profession is incredibly important. Now, there are some of you on the call who are business coaches, some of you are life coaches, some of you are sales coaches, health and fitness coaches. And I truly believe that coaching is so vital. You have expertise and you have knowledge and you have help that other people in this world need so badly. And it's extremely important that you get the word out and that you share your expertise and your knowledge and your help with just as many people as you possibly can. Now, I realize that there are some of you on the call tonight who have probably been coaching for a very long time, and you've been selling your services for a very long time. I've been selling for about 44 years, and my coaching practice is relatively new. I've only been coaching salespeople for about the last 6 years. And so some of you may have more expertise than I do in some areas of coaching or even in selling coaching services. And so I want to tell you a little story as we start off tonight. And it's a story about Andre Segovia. Now, Andre Segovia was, in his lifetime, the premier classical guitarist in the world. There had never been anybody better than him. During his lifetime, there was nobody better than him, and I really doubt that there's ever going to be anybody better at playing classical guitar than Andre Segovia was. When Segovia was 80 years old, he was still practicing his guitar 3 hours a day. And somebody asked him, Andres, why are you practicing so much? Everybody else in the world is struggling to be half as good as you are. Why do you practice all of that time? And Segovia said something very profound. He said, I think I'm beginning to notice a little improvement. And when Segovia died at age 93, he was still booked at Carnegie Hall in New York. He was still that great at that age. And I think that the moral to the story is probably very plain, and that is that no matter how old we get or how good we get at what we do, we still have room to learn and grow every day. Now, I mentioned to you that I've been selling for over 44 years, and I've been coaching other salespeople and teaching them how to sell for 6 years. And I still read everything I can get my hands on that has to do with sales. I watch DVDs and I watch webinars online. I go to workshops, and I'm voracious about getting everything I can in the sales field and picking up on all of the newest things that are happening in sales, because I want to be the best at what I do. And I want to give my clients the very, very best that I can. And you need to do the same thing. So even if you're already very good at what you do, even if you know a whole lot about coaching and about selling, I hope that you'll listen carefully tonight and that you'll take the things that we talk about tonight and put them into action. Now, the other thing to consider about this having room to learn and grow every day is that even when we know how to do what we do, sometimes we forget to do it. I was doing a workshop for a financial planning firm a number of years ago. And I don't even remember what the subject was that specifically that we were talking about. It had to do with sales, but I don't remember exactly what it was. And the CEO of the company came up to me after the workshop and said, "It just makes me so mad." And I said, "What? What's the matter?" He said, "Oh, those guys are sitting there, they're just taking notes and they're really listening to what you have to say. And I've been telling them that for the last 3 years." And he said, "You know that thing that you mentioned?" And again, I don't remember what it was exactly. And he said, "We did that and it worked absolutely great right up until we stopped doing it." The great essayist Samuel Johnson said that people don't so much need to be informed as they need to be reminded. And so some of the things that we talk about tonight are probably going to be very basic. They're going to be things that you know. And maybe they're things that you're not doing right now. And maybe it'll help you go back and just put some things into practice that helped you be successful along the way, and you've forgotten to do them for a little while. First off, to be a successful salesperson, how you see yourself is extremely important. What you think of yourself when you think about yourself as being a salesperson is very, very important. What you think other people think of you when they see you as a salesperson is extremely important. Now, the little girl in this picture, she gets a very clear reflection of herself when she looks in the mirror. What she sees is what she gets. But you know, sometimes people look in the mirror and what they see isn't what's realistic at all. What they see looking back at them from the mirror isn't what other people are seeing. I've been told that people who have eating disorders sometimes look in the mirror and they see a grossly overweight person who needs to really lose weight looking back at them from the mirror, and we look at them and we think, "Oh my goodness, they're just skin and bones. If they don't get a sandwich in the next 15 minutes, they're just going to die." And so there's disparity between what they're seeing and what other people are seeing. And I believe that happens a lot when it comes to our views of ourselves as salespeople compared to how other people see us, how other people are perceiving us. And sometimes salespeople have some real fears around that. So when you look in the mirror of your mind and you think about yourself as being a salesperson, that you're going to sell your coaching services to a prospective client, what is it that you see in the mirror of your mind? Is it this guy, the stereotypical used car salesman who's obnoxious and rude and argues with you and tries to get you to do things you don't want to do and spend money that you don't want to spend and won't take no for an answer? Or is it maybe this guy? He's loud, he talks all the time, you can't get him to shut up and you can't get him to leave, and I love the guy back in the corner going, ah, because that's how we react to those kinds of folks. And maybe more importantly than whether we see ourselves as being that kind of person, that kind of salesperson, are we afraid that if we talk with people about our product or our service, are we afraid that they're going to see us in that way? Are we afraid that they're going to see us as being pushy and aggressive and obnoxious and rude and somebody that they don't want to be around? And does that make us afraid to do things that we need to do when it comes to selling our services? Are we afraid to ask for an appointment? Are we afraid to ask for a sale? Are we afraid to ask really good open-ended questions? Are we afraid to answer objections when they come up? Are we afraid to ask people for referrals? And most often when we fear those things, it's because we're afraid that people are going to see us as being something that we're really not. And the fact of the matter is that that's just our fear. We're making up stories in our head that really aren't true. Now, here's another thing that sometimes happens when we think about selling. When you go out to sell your services, do you think about selling as being a competition? That somebody has to win and somebody has to lose, and gee, I better win because wow, I've got to get some clients and I've got to get some money in the bank and I've got bills to pay and I've got expenses to take care of and I've got things I have to do and want to do. And so I've got to talk them into doing what I want them to do. Or maybe do you think that that's how your prospective client is looking at the upcoming sales conversation? That they've got to win, and that winning means that they have to tell you no. And they have to be resistant to allowing you the privilege of being their coach. These are two of the best salespeople that I ever trained. I was a sales manager at Longmont Dairy Farm up in Colorado for about a year and a half, and these were two of my salespeople. And they were tremendous. I mean, just look at those faces. Don't they look like somebody that it would be fun to sit down and have a conversation with? And they are. Man, they are personable. They're funny. They're just tremendous people. And they sold more milk delivery subscriptions than probably the rest of my sales crew put together. When you think about yourself as being a salesperson, when you look in the mirror of your mind, and what's reflected back to you is how you feel about yourself, do you see yourself as a person who anybody would love to sit down and have a conversation with because you're attractive and you're personable and you're friendly and you're warm and you're just a great person? I hope that that's what you see in the mirror of your mind when you think about yourself as a salesperson. You know what I hear from coaches a whole lot when I talk with them about sales? Oh, I don't want to sell anything. I'm not a salesperson. I just want to help people, or I just want to serve people. That's all I want to do. I'm not a salesperson. I have news for you. Everybody is a salesperson. Everyone in the world is a salesperson. Now, my wife, Priscilla, would be the very first person to tell you that she's not a salesperson and she doesn't like to sell. She wouldn't want to sell. She didn't really like salespeople, and and it's interesting because she's married to a sales coach, but she would tell you that. But you know what? Priscilla convinced me that it would be a great idea to move from Colorado to Florida. And so we did about 3 years ago. She just took an idea that she was very, very excited about, something that she was passionate about, something that she was emotional about. And she transferred that passion and that emotion to me. She convinced me that there really were some things in it for me if I made that move, and that I would enjoy it and that I would have a great time. And, honestly, I wasn't sure at first that I was really going to like Florida. It's kind of hot and humid down here in the summertime. And I got down here and I found out that she was right. I just absolutely loved it. And I'm glad that she convinced me it would be a good idea. You see, she sold to me. You know who the best salespeople in the entire world are? Kids are the best salespeople in the world. From the very moment that that little baby looks up at his or her parents and cries, and they get what they want, they get a bottle, or they get changed, or they get picked up and cuddled and loved, they become salespeople, and they sell mom and dad on doing what's really in mom and dad's best interest, to have a happy, healthy child. And kids are great salespeople right up to the point where somebody convinces them that selling isn't cool and that it's not polite to ask somebody questions, or that it's salespeople are awful and you don't ever want to be a salesperson. And sometimes we get the idea that it's not okay to be a salesperson because we run into somebody who doesn't sell well. They don't sell properly. And all of us who are old enough to have bought anything or to have had a sales conversation with anybody that's trying to sell us something knows that there are salespeople, a lot of salespeople out there who are pushy and aggressive, and they try to shame people or argue with people or manipulate people or force people to do what the salesperson wants them to do. And that's why one of my life goals is to change the world's opinion about sales and salespeople. I want to teach salespeople of all kinds, and particularly salespeople who are selling their coaching services like you all do. I want to teach you to do it in a different way, in a way that's not icky and not scary, and for you or for your prospective client. I want you to be able to sell in a way that's easy and fun and profitable, and you can do that. You can learn to do that very easily and in a very short space of time. Sometimes the statement that I hear from coaches is just a little bit different. Well, I don't want to sell anything. I just want to teach people. I want to educate them. I want to help them learn the things that they need to learn so that they can live a better life. And I want to suggest this to you. You might be the best coach in the entire world. You may have gone through the best coach certification program that there is on the market today. You may have tons of experience. You may be absolutely incredible at coaching people. And if you don't have clients, if you don't have anybody to coach, it doesn't do one bit of good. If you want to build a successful coaching practice, you have to sell. And you have to get over your fear of sales and your fear that people are going to perceive you as being an unpleasant, rude, pushy, aggressive person if you have a sales conversation with them. You have to get past that. And folks, you owe that to yourself. You owe it to your family. You owe it to your clients and your prospective clients to become really tremendous at selling. And there's a huge difference between a sales conversation and the conversation that you have with somebody after they become your client. That's one of the hardest things, I think, for us coaches to really comprehend. And when we have a sales conversation, what we're trying to do is find out what our prospective client needs and figure out whether our service can help them solve their problem or help them get what they want or need. It's not to educate them. It's not to give them all kinds of information about coaching or about the type of coaching that you do or about the ways that they can solve the problems that they have. It's not about the specifics of that. That's for later on when they've become your client and they've invested in order to become your client. And then you educate them, then you coach them, then you work with them. The sales conversation is really something quite different. It's really important when we have sales conversations with people that we know exactly what to say and how to say it and when to say it. I think that one of the reasons sometimes that salespeople are fearful or lack confidence or get nervous is because they don't know what they're going to say. They're kind of out there winging it. And they're afraid that if they say certain things that they're going to get a negative reaction. And so they just go out and they don't ask for the sale effectively. They don't communicate their value statements in an effective way. They don't ask great questions. They don't have sales conversations that really sell. And so they don't gain any new clients. They don't fill their practice up. Did you know that the average compensation for coaches on an annual basis, and this is average. Now, there are some coaches who do very, very well, but the average compensation for coaches of all kinds is about $25,000 a year. It's not very much. Really tough in this day and age to live on $25,000 a year. So you've got to sell to build a great practice. And if you're going to sell, you might as well learn how to do it right. And that means knowing what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. There was a study that was done at UCLA in 1964, and I never remember the name of the professor who did the study. He came from a Middle European country, and his name is very long and very complicated and has a lot of consonants in it. And even if I remembered it, I probably wouldn't pronounce it right. But you can find this study if you just go online and put in Google a study about communication of ideas and emotions. And what they found in that study is that when you are communicating ideas and emotions, which you are doing when you are selling, and by the way, I believe that we're doing that when we're coaching as well to a great extent, only about 7% of the communication that goes on involves the words that we say. 38% of the communication that goes on has to do with tonality and voice inflection, how we say what we say. And over 50% has to do with body language and facial expression. And that's how communication takes place. So before you go out to sell, before you go out to talk to prospective clients about becoming your client, you need to have a script. You need to know just exactly what it is that you're going to say. Now, you're going to have a conversation with your potential client. And having a conversation means that there's more than one person involved in the process. And a lot of what takes place in a good sales conversation is asking questions and then listening very closely to the answers. But there are things that you need to say, and you need to say them in every sales conversation that you have. And you need to have them memorized. You need to rehearse. You need to role play. And you need to work on that script until it's a part of you and you're a part of it. Until you've put your personality and your way of communicating and your way of talking and your way of expressing emotion into those words that you're saying. And when you get that script down so well and it's so comfortable that if I called you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and woke you out of a dead sleep and said, let's have a sales conversation, you would be right into it. You would know exactly what to say. And you wouldn't even really have to think about it too much. When you get your sales conversation to that point, man, it's just absolutely magic. And you see, there are objections that salespeople have to having a script and having that script memorized. Sometimes salespeople say, well, I just want to wing it because I want to have a genuine conversation with people. And, if I've memorized what I'm going to say, then I can't have a really genuine, real conversation. Oh, yes, you can. If you've ever had a conversation with one of your children, or you need to have a conversation with your wife about something that's important, I will guarantee you that you sit down and think about what you're going to say before you have that conversation. You just don't go into an important conversation with one of your loved ones without thinking about what you're going to say first. You don't go in and wing it. That doesn't happen. And if you go in and wing it in a sales conversation, you're sunk a high percentage of the time. You're not going to have a successful sales conversation if you do that. It's kind of like a Broadway actor or actress. And that actor or actress is going to do the same script, and they work on that script, and they rehearse it over and over and over again before they go out to perform for the audience that's going to be watching them and listening to them. And they put their personality into that role. They put emotion into that role. They become that person that they're portraying when they're doing the script. And if it's a great play and they're lucky and it stays open on Broadway for 3 years or to 5 years, then they're doing that same script. They're saying those same words. They're interacting with those same actors over and over and over again every single day, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday, and they're doing it for 3 to 5 years. What if one of those actors or actresses says, I am so bored with this script, I just can't stand it. I want to wing it. I want to do something different. I'm just going to go out there tonight and say whatever comes into my head. How would the performance go? How successful would that show be? If that kept happening, how successful would the show be overall? How long would it stay open? Probably not very long. And you see, sometimes salespeople get bored with their script. And so they stop doing their script. They start saying things differently than they were saying it when they were being successful. And all of a sudden they're in a sales slump and they can't sell anything to save their lives. And what they need to do is go back to the basics. Go back to the script. Start saying the words in the way that you were saying them before when you were being successful. Start doing that again, and you'll start to be successful in selling again. Now, there is an 8-step sales conversation, and each step goes in order, and each step builds on one on top of the other. And your sales conversation needs to include every one of these 8 steps every single time. And it needs to go in the same order every single time. And there are portions of the sales conversation that you need to say the same words in the same way every single time. Now, what I'd like to do, and this is just a very, very short video, I'd like to show you a little video. It's an excerpt from a new program that's going to be an online sales coaching program with over 8 hours of material. And this is just a brief excerpt from it. And it's about the 8 steps in the sales conversation. And then I want to come back and I want to talk about some specific parts of it. And so let's take a look at the video real quick here.
Hey there. Welcome to the Elite Sales Academy. What I'd like to do is take you through the 8 steps in a good sales conversation. We'll be repeating this information at the beginning of each one of the modules that follow because I want you to become very, very familiar with this material. The reason it's important to do that is because if you at some point lose your place in a sales conversation and you lose your words, if you know what the overview is, if you know how a sales conversation is structured and you're so familiar with that it's like second nature, it's very easy to pick up and start again at the place where you left off. Here are the 8 steps in a good sales conversation. The first step is to build rapport. That means that you give your prospect the opportunity to know you, like you, and trust you so that they can comfortably buy from you. You do that by asking good questions, finding out about your prospect and about their life, and finding common ground. When you've established rapport, the next step in the sales conversation is to establish a verbal agreement. The verbal agreement is the table of contents. It deals with what's going to happen in the rest of the sales conversation, what you're going to talk with them about, what questions you're going to ask them at the end, and what's going to happen if they say yes and if they say no. When you've established the agreement, you can move on to step 3, which is to determine your prospect's needs. You do that simply by asking lots and lots of good open-ended questions that let you know where your prospect is, what they need, and what they want. And then you can go on to the next step and help them find a solution to the challenges that they have or the goals that they'd like to attain. When you've clearly explained what's in it for them to do business with you, you are ready to ask them for the sale. Asking for the sale is the step in the process that most salespeople have a lot of trouble with, and they think it's the hardest step in the process. If you've done the first 4 steps properly, asking for the sale is the easiest part of the sales conversation. It's just like falling off a log. Sometimes your prospect will see an obstacle in the pathway to having what they really want to have. And so your job is to answer that objection. And so the next step is to answer that objection and try to help them find a way past that obstacle so that they can have what they want and what they need. The last 2 steps in the sales process are related, and that's follow-up and customer service. It's doing what you promised you would do and being there for your prospect if any challenges arise to help them solve any problems that might come up or giving them information that they might need in the future. And step 8 is to continue to build relationship and rapport with your prospect or your new client long after the sales conversation is finished.
All right. You know, it's so important for us to find out where our prospective clients are emotionally. Emotions play a huge part in the sales process. When you talk with a prospective client, chances are that there are areas of their lives or their businesses that they're really dissatisfied with. They would rather be in any situation, they'd rather have anything happening than what's happening to them right now. And I heard a great illustration of this about it's like your client is on an island, and it's not a very nice island. There's a landmass that blocks the sea breezes, and so it's very, very hot. There's very little vegetation, and it's just hot and sweaty. And there's bugs, and there's alligators, and all kinds of unpleasant things on this island. And your prospect wants to be off of that island so badly. They would do anything to get off of that island. They'd invest anything to get off of that island. anything that you asked them to do, they would do because they just don't want to be there anymore. And what they can see from where they are is another island, and the other island that they can see is much different. It's an absolutely ideal island. There's a wonderful sea breeze, and the temperature is always just totally comfortable. There are shade trees with hammocks strung between them. There are fruit trees. There's a concierge there with wonderful hors d'oeuvres and drinks. And they can just lay back and really enjoy life. There are no bugs. There's no alligators. There's nothing at all unpleasant on that island. And they want to be there so badly. They want to be there so much. And they just don't know how to get from where they are right now to where they want to be. And the challenge is that there's an awful lot of rough water in between those two islands, and your prospect doesn't know how to swim. And even if they did know how to swim, there are sharks out there in the water that could eat them up. And they want to get to that other island so badly. They don't want to be where they are. They do want to be in that other space. And you have the vehicle to get them from one place to the other. You're the one with the boat. Your coaching can help them move from the place that they hate to the place that they love. The place that they would do anything to get away from to the place where they would do anything to get to. You have that ability to help. And so what you have to do, first of all, is ask really good, high-yielding questions to find out exactly what's going on with them. What challenges are they facing? What do they hate about where they are right now? What would they love if their situation was ideal? How motivated are they to get from one island to the other? What are the problems that they're facing? What are the goals that they're trying to attain? What do they think? How do they feel? What's their situation? And you get that information by asking questions like who, what, where, when, why, and how. Open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are questions that can't be answered yes or no. And you can change any closed-end question into an open-ended question, typically by putting who, what, where, why, when, and how on the front of the question. So instead of asking a question like, are you satisfied with where you are business-wise right now? Just ask, how satisfied are you with where you are business-wise right now? Are you making enough sales? That's closed-ended. How happy are you with your sales production right now? That's an open-ended question. When you ask an open-ended question, your prospective client has to give you information. They have to talk with you, and you need to listen very, very closely to the answers. Take notes. And when you get to something that is emotionally charged, put an asterisk next to that question, because that is a question that you want to deal with, and you want to share a value statement with them about that emotional issue. The reason that it's so important to get to the emotional basis instead of just staying on the surface and talking about facts and figures, you've got to get down to the emotional level. The reason that you need to do that is because that's where sales decisions are made. That's where your prospective client is going to make their buying decision. It's not based on logic. It's not based on their head. It's based on emotion. It's based on their heart. Let me give you a couple of illustrations of that. When you go out to buy a new car, there are all kinds of logical reasons that are given to buy a new car. well, I'm not getting very good gas mileage with the car that I have now, and I know that this new model over here, this brand new car, is going to get gas mileage that's a lot better, and so I'm going to save more money if I buy that car. Or they say, you know, I've been reading consumer reports, and this car over here that I want to buy, it has the very best safety rating available any place. And I just kind of think that the car I have right now might not be the safest car on the road. And so, I think that I should buy a car that really is safe. And so very often people justify the purchase that they make through logical means, facts and figures, gas mileage, that kind of thing. But that's not why we go out and buy a new car. We go out and buy a new car because we're tired of the old one. It doesn't smell like it did when it was brand new. It doesn't drive like it did when it was brand new. It's not as comfortable as it was when it was brand new. And we don't feel as good about driving that car as we did when it was brand new. And so we want to go out and get something that's brand new when we like the way that it smells, and we like the way that it looks, and we like the way that it feels when we drive in it, and we like the way that people look at us and say, oh, that's a really nice car that you got there, and we feel pride. And all of that is emotion-based. Now, folks, when you go out to buy new clothes, you could justify your purchase on a logical basis. Well, I really need some new clothes. The old ones are kind of wearing out. I've got pants and shirts, or I've got dresses and coats and purses, and I could probably use them a little bit longer, but they're sort of wearing out, and I want to get something that's really good quality that's going to last for a long time. And boy, this purse over here, it's made out of the very best materials, or this dress is made out of the very best materials. And so I'm gonna buy these because they're really, really well made, and it's a good value, and they'll last a long time. That's not why you buy new clothes. You buy new clothes because they look cute, or they look really sharp on you, and you feel good when you wear them, and people notice you, and people compliment you on your new outfit, or, oh, what a cute purse. And you just think you look wonderful in them, and that's emotional. And that's why we actually buy commodities. And that is, emotion is why people will buy your coaching services. And I want to be really clear about this. When people invest in your coaching services, they're not buying your services because they want coaching. They're not buying their services because they want somebody to talk to once a week for X number of weeks. They're not buying your services because they think that it's really a good logical idea to have a coach if you're a business person. Those are all logical reasons to hire a coach, I suppose. But what your prospect really wants, the reason that they're really buying your services, is that they want their lives to change in some significant, meaningful way. They want their lives to be better. They want their lives to be more comfortable, more peaceful, more happy, more productive, more profitable. And if they see that you can do that, that you can help them do that, they will buy from you because they want to feel that way. They want that result in their lives. They want to be happy. They want to feel the way that they feel on the good island. They don't want to feel the way that they feel on the bad island where they are right now. And so you've got to ask questions that get down to the emotional level so that you can then in turn share value statements that are also emotionally based and that help them make a favorable buying decision, the right buying decision for them. So the next step in the process, after you've asked the questions and you know what they want and what they need, is to help them find a solution. Help them find a solution to the challenges and the problems that they have that are driving them crazy. Help them find a solution to that goal that's so important to them, that goal that they really want, and so far it's eluded them. Help them find that solution. Every prospective client that you talk to, or almost all of them, are going to have a missing puzzle piece someplace. There's going to be something that they're not satisfied with, something that they wish would change, something that they want to be different in their life or their business, with their health. Now, sometimes they're very aware of what that missing puzzle piece is. They know that there's something that they want or need very specifically. And sometimes it's just a very general, vague feeling that, I could be doing better, and they don't know what the specifics are. And part of the reason that you ask the questions, the open-ended questions that you ask, is that very often those questions direct them to the missing puzzle piece. And they very specifically are able to identify what it is that's bothering them, what it is that they don't have in their life or their business that they really want and need so that it can be ideal. And so you're helping them discover what the missing puzzle piece is, and then if your service, your coaching service, can supply the missing puzzle piece, now you'll find that sometimes it can, sometimes it can't. Sometimes your life coaching isn't the solution. Sometimes they really just need to see a psychiatrist. Sometimes your business coaching is not going to be the solution, because when you get to talking with them and you find out what's going on, a bankruptcy attorney is really who they need to be talking to right now. And so sometimes your services aren't going to be the solution. And you have to have the integrity to say, I don't think that what I do is a good fit for you. Let me make a recommendation. Here's something that you could do that might be the solution to the challenge that you have. Sometimes we just need to walk away from that situation without a sale if we have integrity. Most of the time, though, we're going to have a solution, something that will help them get from where they are right now to where they really want to be. What most of your competitors in the coaching business are doing is what I call the wee-wee syndrome. And it goes like this. We've been in business for 10 years, and we have the best coaching services available anyway, and we've helped countless hundreds of clients really attain greatness. And we are just so much better than our competitors, and we have great customer service, and boy, do we have a deal for you. And it's all about we all the way home. Now, I want to share something with you that you probably won't like that well, but it's the truth, so I'm going to tell it to you anyway. And that is that your prospective client really only has one question in their mind when they're talking with you and when they're considering your coaching services. And that question is, what's in it for me? If I become their client, if I take advantage of their coaching services, how is it going to change my life for the better? What am I going to get? What am I going to receive? What's going to happen in my life that's going to make my life measurably, significantly better, or make my business more productive and profitable, or make me happier or more peaceful? What is it that's going to mend my relationships and help me get along with my family or my friends or my coworkers or my employees better than I do now? What is in it for me? And since that's their question, our job as salespeople, when we're sharing our solutions, our value statements with them, to answer that question properly, we have to tell them what's in it for them. And we have to connect the dots. They won't do it themselves. We can't just say, well, we have this and we have that, and we do this and we help people do this or that. It has to be very specific. We have to tell them what's in it for them. So when you're offering your value statements. When you're telling people what's in it for them, use you statements. You can have, you can get, you can do, you can enjoy, you can learn, you can be. And I will tell you that I believe that an absurdly high percentage of coaches out there are not selling that way. They're not talking with their prospective clients about you can have and you can get and so on. In fact, most salespeople are not talking to their prospective buyers that way. And there's a reason for that. Over the years, we've become habituated to you saying we and our and us and I instead of you and your. If you go to a networking meeting and you listen to elevator speeches, almost every elevator speech that you hear will be about we do this and we do that and I have this and I offer this and I help people do this. It's hardly ever about you can have this or you can learn this or you can enjoy this or you can do this. Look at people's LinkedIn profiles. And almost without fail, what you will see there is, I do this and I have this much education and I've done this and this is my experience and I feel this way and I do this and that and I help people do whatever. And they don't talk about what their prospective clients can have if they even connect with them and have a conversation. Look at the emails that you get. Very few of them that are advertisements will say you can have this or that. They say we offer this, we're doing this, we're having, we, all the way home. I call it we, or ay, because it's I. Listen to radio or TV ads and listen to what the messaging is there. All too often, it's about we do this and we do that, instead of you can have and you can do and you can be. And so because we've become habituated and we've done it that way for years and we've had it done to us that way for years and years and years, and we see all of this stuff coming at us every single day, it's very difficult to make that transition from talking about we and I and me and our to talking about you and your. You need to do that, and that's one of the reasons that scripting is so very important. You need to get habituated to doing it properly. The solutions that you offer to your prospective clients need to sell back only to the needs and the desires that you've uncovered with the high-yielding questions that you've asked. And so if you're talking with somebody and they tell you that they're having, you're a business coach, and they tell you that they're having challenges because their employees don't get along with each other and they spend too much time arguing and bickering and they're not pulling together and they're not a team, and you have a solution for that because you can help people, you can help businesses learn about teamwork and learn about productivity and learn about time task management and learn to buy into the corporate mission and pull together as a team to achieve that mission. So you've got the solution to do that. And you also can help with other aspects of business, and there's a variety of things. There are maybe 5 or 6 things that you can do to help businesses. The temptation that most salespeople give into is that they want to tell that prospective client about the whole kitchen sink. They want to tell them about everything that they can help with. And the hot button, the emotional issue, the thing that the prospect is really concerned about it and really emotional about is having their team pull together and stop fighting and bickering. And so the only thing that you want to talk about, if that's the only emotional issue that comes up, that's the only value statement that you want to talk about. It's the only thing that you want to share with that prospective client, because that's what they want. That's what they need. That's what they're emotional about. That's why they're going to purchase your services. And when you try to tell them about all of the different things that you can do, you're running the risk of boring them, of frustrating them, of talking to them for too long, telling them about too many things, and you lose that prospect. You lose the opportunity to convert them into a client. Now, the objection that I always get when I talk about this particular point is, well, what if I forget something that is important to them and something that they want to know about? What if I leave out something that's vital and that would help them make the decision to work with me? And my answer to that is that if your prospective client wants to know something that you haven't told them about, if it's a real concern to them or a real interest to them or they're emotionally invested in it, they will ask you about it. And when they ask you the question, you need to answer that question, and you need to answer it just as succinctly and briefly as you possibly can, and then go right back to your sales conversation. The reason you need to do that, I'm going to illustrate this with a story. Little Johnny was outside one day playing with one of his friends, and he came running in, and his dad was sitting in the lazy boy reading a newspaper, drinking a cup of coffee, just relaxing. It was the weekend. Johnny ran up and said, Dad, I need to ask you a question. And Dad said, well, okay, Johnny, what's your question? And Johnny says, Dad, where did I come from? And Dad thinks, oh my goodness, this kid's only 4 years old, and he's already asking me where he came from. Well, kids are getting pretty sophisticated nowadays. I guess if he wants to know, I better tell him. And so he proceeds to spend the next hour or so telling Johnny all about the birds and the bees and where everything is and how it's used and everything about it. And he finally gets finished and he says, now, Johnny, do you understand what I just told you? And Johnny says, yeah, Dad, I think so. And Dad says, well, Johnny, tell me this. Why did you want to know where you came from? What made you ask me that? And Johnny said, well, I was out playing with Tommy, and he said he came from Chicago, and I just wondered where I came from. You see, sometimes we tell people way more than they ever wanted to know or needed to know, and we lose their interest. And what we need to be asking our prospective clients when they ask us a question, we need to ask the question that Johnny's father asked at the end of the conversation that he really should have asked at the very beginning of the conversation. What do you want to know about exactly? Why did you ask me that question? What's the most important thing to you about this or that? Well, what about employee turnover? Do you do anything in that area? Wow, that's a really interesting area. What's the most important to you about employee turnover? What's going on exactly? Or what made you ask me about employee turnover? That's interesting. And let them tell you exactly what it is that they want to know. Oh, I was just wondering what the general statistics are with employee turnover in a company like mine. And if you know the answer to that question, maybe you could answer it, and then you're done and you move on. If they say, man, employee turnover is one of the things that's just driving me nuts. I keep losing employees, and then I have to spend all this time and money hiring and retraining somebody else, and it's just cutting into my productivity. It's killing me. Well, then you need to share some value statements about what you can do to help them with that challenge and help them get from where they are to where they really want to be. That question, what's most important to you about, is a tremendous question to ask whenever you're asking questions and you get an answer that doesn't give you enough information. You ask somebody, tell me a little bit about your relationship with your significant other right now. And they say, well, I think that we really need to work on our communication. Now you could just take that at face value, and you could then share value statements about how you help couples with communication. What would be even better is to say, boy, communication is really important. What's the most important to you about communicating with your significant other? Well, I just feel like we could be so much closer and we could have so much better a relationship. And sometimes we don't really talk to each other. And, sometimes we're both so busy that things go bump in the night and we don't get the important issues talked about. And then we get frustrated with each other and we get mad at each other, and it's really miserable. And man, I love my significant other, and, I want to be with him or her for a really long time. And so communication is terribly, terribly important. Well, now you've gotten down underneath the fact that they want to work on communication, and you've gotten down to the why of it, the emotion underlying it. And they're going to be much more likely to retain your services when you talk with them about how they can live and what life can be like and what their relationship can be like if they work with you and allow you to coach them on the issues that they're having and coach them together as a couple. And that's just one example of many that I could have used. What's most important to you about whatever it is? The other area that I want to spend just a little bit of time in is the area of customer retention, and I want to talk to you about a couple of threes. When you are presenting your options, your product, your services, the services that you are able to render, what you need to present to your prospective client are three options: a lower cost option, an option that has more benefit to it or a longer duration and is more money and involves savings at the same time, and then a third Cadillac option that is the most money out of pocket, also involves a larger amount of savings and has the greatest amount of benefit. And when you offer those options, you make a recommendation about the option that you think might be the best choice for them, and then you ask them an open-ended question. It's your life or it's your business and it's your budget. So which one of those options do you think is the best fit for you at this time? And you allow them to choose the option that they want. Why is that important? They're much more likely to stay with you and not to go to a competitor for future services if the option that the way that you work with them is the option that they've chosen and not the option that you've chosen. Very important psychological difference there. Allow them to choose the level of service. Allow them to choose the level of investment that they're willing and able to make. And they will be invested then in the coaching that you do. It makes it theirs. It belongs to them. They take possession of it. And so they stick with it. They work on it. They talk to people about it. They recommend it. And they come back to you in the future to provide more service for them. Customer service, customer service, customer service. That's another big three. And it's all the same. But listen, folks, when you retain, when a client retains you, you have to be there for them when they have a challenge. You have to check in with them constantly to make sure that they're receiving the value that they believe that they need to receive and deserve to receive based on the investment that they've made with you. If they're not happy with what's going on, you need to know that. And that's all part of the customer service process. And it's what keeps your clients on board with you. It's what keeps them saying at the end of the time that you've contracted to work with them, it's what makes them say, oh, okay, what's next? What do we need to do next? What else do you have? What else can we do? because you're making sure that you're providing the value that makes them happy. And there are so many salespeople, so many coaches who are afraid to ask their clients, how much value are you receiving from the coaching that we're doing? How valuable was that session for you? You know, how much are the changes that you're making? How much are they affecting your life right now? And how are they affecting your life right now? And often coaches or other salespeople are afraid to ask that question because they're afraid that their client might be displeased and that they're going to have to hear that the client is displeased. Well, I'm going to tell you something. It's much better for you to hear it and be able to adjust and do something about it and make sure that your client gets happy and gets the value that they're expecting. Much better for you to hear that and react to it than for them to go out and tell other people, oh, you know, I'm working with this coach and I paid him all this money and I'm not getting anything out of it. It was really stupid, but now I'm stuck because I signed a contract and I've got to finish it out. You want people talking to other people about you and saying, oh, this coach is awesome. And man, we're getting great results and they're just giving me great ideas and they're giving me exactly what I need. That's how you want your clients to talk about you. So customer service, customer service, customer service. You've got to wow them. You've got to underpromise and overperform. You have to show your clients, you have to connect with them and stay connected with them when they're your client. And if your contract with them runs out and you've provided what you promised and they're not going to work with you for a while, you still need to stay connected. You need to show them that you care about them and you need to stay top of mind. When people play word association, if somebody says hamburgers, immediately the other person will say McDonald's, because McDonald's is top of mind worldwide when it comes to hamburgers. Doesn't mean they're the best hamburger makers in the world, but they're the most famous and they're top of mind. Now, you're probably not going to be top of mind worldwide like McDonald's is, or maybe not even countrywide. But in your circle of influence, when somebody thinks about or says life coaching, what immediately needs to pop into your client's mind is your name and only your name. So that then when they're having a conversation and somebody says something about, oh, I think maybe I should get a life coach, they immediately say your name. It's the first thing that pops into their mind. You have to stay top of mind. And if you are top of mind, if you're the only one that they think about when they think about life coaching, business coaching, health and fitness coaching, sales coaching, whatever your field is, if your name is synonymous with that in their mind, they will not go elsewhere for coaching. They will come back to you and they will send other people to you. You'll gain referrals. I want to tell you a quick story about 3 realtors. One of those realtors sold my parents the last house that my parents ever owned, and my parents were in their late 70s when they bought that house. The realtor who sold them the house was a very, very good salesperson. He knew that that was the last house my parents were going to buy. He was not going to sell them another house. But once every 90 days, like clockwork, that realtor called and talked to my mom. He talked to my mom because my dad didn't like to answer the phone. So my mom answered the phone. He said, Mrs. Little, this is so-and-so from such and such real estate company. And how are you doing? How much are you enjoying that great rock fireplace? That is my very favorite hot fireplace that I've ever seen any place in Colorado. Are you building fires and enjoying the fires in the evening in that fireplace? And how are your appliances doing? And how is all the heating and everything? Is everything in good repair? Are you having any challenges at all with any of that? And because he knew that they were on up in years, do you need any help moving anything heavy, or do you need anything hauled off that I could take care of for you? And he knew that my mother was going to tell him the same thing every time. Oh, no, we're doing fine. It was so nice of you to call and ask, though. You're just wonderful. Now, he knew that my parents weren't going to buy another house from him. Why did he, air quotes, waste his time calling once every 90 days to have a conversation with my mom? Simply this. If you ever made the mistake of saying anything about buying or selling a piece of property around my mother, it was, oh, you have to call my real estate guy. Oh, he's just wonderful. He does this and he does that. He calls me. He offers to come and help me. He is just so wonderful. He's just the best. I have his card right here. I don't know how many people my mom referred to that realtor, a bundle, a whole bunch of people. It was the very best advertising that he could possibly have done, and all it cost him was a 5-minute telephone call once every 90 days. So that's realtor number one. Now, my mother tried to get me when we bought her house from her when we moved back to Colorado and she went into an assisted living place. She tried to get me to do business with her realtor, and I didn't because of realtor number two. Realtor number two was my buddy Marty. Marty and I grew up across the street from each other, rode the bus to junior high and high school every day, and kept in touch over the years. And he went into the real estate business. And every year, Marty sends me a calendar with all of the Colorado sports teams, the major ones, 2 college teams, 4 professional teams, have their schedules on that calendar. I get one of those every year from Marty. He sends me Christmas cards and birthday cards. He calls me every now and again just to check in and see how I'm doing. When we moved to Florida, he sold the house for us, and he even called the realtor down here to smooth things over and make it easier for us to buy the house here. We got a thank you card from Marty right after the house closed up in Colorado. And then a couple of weeks after we moved down here, a package came in the mail. And it was a beautiful coffee table book from Marty with a note that said, just wanted you to remember where you came from. Marty stayed top of mind. And even though I live in Florida, I've had several clients who were planning to move to Colorado. And guess who I referred them to go look at houses and buy a house from? I referred them to Marty. And I'll refer anybody that I know is moving to Colorado to Marty every single time. Realtor number 3 is the realtor who sold us our house in Florida. After she sold us the house, a couple of weeks after we moved in, we got a thank you card from her, and that was very nice. That's been 3 years ago. How many times do you think we've heard from her since then? Now, we're in our middle 60s. She knows that we're probably not going to buy another house from her. We haven't heard from her at all in the last 3 years. Never a phone call, never an email, never a card, never stopped by to say hi and see how we're doing. Nothing. If I wanted to refer her to somebody that I knew was looking to buy a house somewhere here in the local area, if I wanted to refer her, which I don't, I wouldn't be able to do it because I don't remember her name. I would have to go back and search through file boxes from 3 years ago to find her card, to find out what her name is. Follow-up and customer service is absolutely vital. You've got to stay top of mind. It brings repeat business and it brings referrals. Now, I told you at the beginning of the webinar that I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes telling you about the new program that we have coming out, because you can be a sales wizard too. I'm a sales wizard because I've spent 44 years selling, and I made tons of stupid mistakes, and I did it wrong, and I learned by my mistakes, and I finally learned how to be really great at it. And I became the sales wizard. But you know what? You can be a sales wizard too. You can know everything that I know and even more. You can avoid all of the dumb mistakes that I made over 44 years and do it right the first time. You can be successful way faster than I was. And here's the way you can do it. The Elite Sales Academy, it's about to come online. In the Elite Sales Academy, you can receive 24 modules of instruction. You saw a brief little 2 or 3 minute excerpt from the Elite Sales Academy earlier in this webinar. There's over 8 hours of material, 8 hours of instruction from over 40 years of sales experience. The program talks about mindset, about what your prospective client's mindset is and what your mindset needs to be as a salesperson. You learn how to make calls, how to find out where your ideal clients are and how to connect with them and how to get appointments with them. You learn every one of the steps in the sales conversation and how to script those out and say exactly the right things in the right way at the right time. You learn a little bit about time task management and how to make the very most of your time and how to fit the various aspects of selling your services into the time that you have available. And you learn about how to adjust your sales conversation when you're talking to people who are different personality styles than yours. All of that over 8 hours of instruction in these modules. And you can study and learn at your own pace in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You don't have to travel any place. You don't have to go to anybody's office. You don't have to go to a hotel. You don't have to spend any money doing any of that. You can just sit in your home or your office. You can sit there in your comfortable clothes or your underwear if you want to, and you can get a tremendous education in selling. And if you have staff, if you have people who work with you, who talk with your prospective clients, if you have an assistant, if you have other coaches who are part of your practice and they need to build their practice as well, you can use this material as a training program for your staff and teach them how to sell really well. When this program launches, and it'll be sometime in the next month, it's going to retail at $14.97. And I don't know just when that's going to happen. It's not going to be very long, and that's what the investment is going to be. Because you've been so kind as to come on to this webinar and spend your time with me tonight, you don't have to invest $14.97 in this program. For a limited time, the pre-sale investment is only $9.97, and you save $500 right off the bat. Now, to enroll, all you have to do is go to redcapsalescoaching.com, find the tab that says Elite Sales Academy, and when you open that picture up, or that tab up, it will have another button that you can push, and you can enroll in the program and make your investment right then and there. Now, there are also 5 bonuses that are being offered, 5 more things that you get in conjunction with the Elite Sales Academy. And the first one is a signed copy of the new edition of my book, Take the Icky and Scary Out of Sales. And that is a tremendous reference book that you can use as you're writing scripts for your sales conversation, as you're setting up your sales process. If you use that in conjunction with the videos, you will become the sales wizard in your sales business and in your coaching business very, very, very quickly and very effectively. The second bonus is a members-only site. And in that members-only site, you will get other videos, You'll get written material. You'll get a ton of information and material it'll just help you get better and better at selling all the time. And there will be new material, cutting edge stuff that's added to that members only site all the time. Bonus number 3 is a complimentary 45-minute conversation with me to talk about your business, to talk about your sales, to talk about the specifics. And you'll get tips, you'll get strategies, you'll get ideas that you can go back to your office the very next day and implement that will make you more sales and more money. Bonus number 4 is a weekly 20-minute online group call with me or with another Red Cap sales coach. And we'll be answering questions. We'll be providing you new information. We'll be talking about the things that you're having difficulties with and other salespeople are having difficulties with. You'll get feedback from other people who are on the call. And it'll be another really valuable resource to help you successfully sell your coaching services. Bonus number 5 is that you get to be part of a private Facebook group. On that Facebook group, you can add comments, you can ask questions, you can get feedback from other members of the group, you can get feedback from the Red Cap sales coaches who will be part of the group and will be posting on the group. You can get information there about what's going on and what's available to you. And maybe the most important thing of all is that you can form relationships, you can connect with the other people who are in that group. They may very well become your clients, or they may become power partners. They may refer other people to you, but it's a wonderful way to expand your practice, to expand your connections, to expand your influence. Now, all of that, all 5 bonuses and the 8 hours of sales instruction are all part of the Elite Sales Academy, and they're yours for the pre-sale investment of only $997. And folks, for you to have all of that, just to have the online sales coaching program, you'd have to invest $500 more just very shortly, just in a few short days. It's going to be $1497 for that. And in addition to that, you get all of the additional bonuses, and that runs into thousands and thousands of dollars if you invest in each one of those things on a separate basis. And you can have it all right now for just the one low price of $997. And so I would encourage you right after the call to go to redcapsalescoaching.com, click on the Elite Sales Academy tab right at the top of the page, and enroll. Go ahead and make your investment, and as soon as the site goes live, you will receive the modules. You'll become a member of that group. You will have all of the bonuses available to you that we've talked about tonight. Now, I promised you that I'd go back and finish up with what I think are the 3 most important things that you need to know in order to successfully sell your coaching services. And the first thing is that when you are selling, your focus needs to be 100% on your prospect. Your focus cannot be on the fact that you have to make a sale, or the fact that you need some money. You need to get some capital into your business. It can't be on the fact that you haven't made a sale for a while. It can't be on the fact that you had a disagreement with your wife this morning, or that some of your kids are giving you trouble, or that you have a stack of bills that you don't know how you're going to pay, or that there's something else going on in your life that's difficult. You can't be focused on all of the work that you have to accomplish after this conversation that you're having is over with. Your focus has to be on your prospective client, because there is an energy that passes between you and your prospect. And if your focus is not on them and on helping them, they will feel that and they will not buy from you. So that's the number one thing. Your focus and your intention has to be in the right place. Secondly, you have to be very clear about what your job is. And it is not your job to educate people when you're selling to them. That's not it. That's not your job. It's not your job to decide whether they can afford your services or not. And way too many coaches cut their price because they believe that the person they're talking to can't afford what they're asking. Don't ever prejudge. Don't look at exteriors and make a decision about whether they can afford you or not. That's not your job. Your job is to find out what their challenges are and what their goals are, and tell them what's very clearly and very concisely what's in it for them if they work for you with you, and then ask them to trust you to be their coach. And then they take over. It's their job to figure out whether they want to do that and whether they're willing to make the investment and whether they're able to make the investment. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't answer objections. That doesn't mean that you can't offer installments, or that you can't offer other ways to help them have what they want and what they need. But it's not your job to help them figure out whether they're going to do it and how they're going to do it. That's their job. Your job, in a nutshell, is to help your prospect get what they want and what they need. It is not your job to get them to do what you want them to do. And there is a huge difference between those two things. In fact, it's so important, I'm going to repeat it one more time. It's not your job to get your prospect to do what you want them to do, or even what you think they should do. It's your job to help them do what they want to do. And finally, I want to encourage you to stop doing sales presentations and start having sales conversations. If you're showing up and throwing up and just telling them everything that you can think about of why they might want to be your client, and you're not asking good questions, and you're not having a conversation, and you're not listening very closely to their needs, their wants, their feelings, their desires, their thoughts, then in my estimation, you're committing sales malpractice. Stop doing sales presentations. Don't just show up and start talking. Start having sales conversations, and you will find that your sales and your income will go up and up and up. I want to thank you again so much for being on the webinar tonight. I hope that you've gained value from it. I hope you've enjoyed it and had a good time. And I hope that you will go to redcapsalescoaching.com and invest $9.97 in that new program and get all of the bonuses and get that online sales coaching that will help you become so much better at selling that you won't even believe it. To enroll, all you have to do is go to redcapsalescoaching.com, click on the Elite Sales Academy tab, and it's very, very easy to enroll and make your investment there. And so I want to wish you in your life and in your business all the best. Make your days fun and profitable and good selling. And good night.